Yes, we are. United, courageous, deserving, committed, beloved. Yes. Today's talk is the fourth unity principle, and it's about affirmative prayer. Dan, would you put that principle up, please? Through prayer and meditation, I align my heart, mind with God. This is the fourth talk I've done, and if you've missed the first three, they're all on if you go to our website, all the talks are posted on there. Unity has, for those of you that are here the first time today, we have what we call 5 basic principles. It's the foundation of our teaching. And every talk you're going to hear from up here covers one of those principles. So you can start looking for which one is it in the talk that's being given. But I already told you today's. So there's a Sanskrit word for the word prayer. You know, Sanskrit is one of the oldest languages that there is. And the word for prayer is payal. I'm probably not saying it right. It's P-A-L-A-L. But the translation is what I like. It means seeing oneself as wondrously made. That's the translation for the word prayer in Sanskrit. Seeing oneself as wondrously made. Do you pray from a place of seeing yourself wondrously made? Or do you pray from a place of lack, limitation, feeling insignificant and small, wondering what you can say to get God's attention? I grew up in the Catholic Church, and as a little girl, you make your first communion when you're 8 years old, I think it was. And I learned the Lord's Prayer, the Hail Mary, the Apostle Creed. And then, of course, there was the act of contrition. How many previous Catholics do we have? Do you know what I'm talking about here? A few of you. So, as I wrote this talk, I went, oh my gosh, the act of contrition. I can still remember it. And here's what this little 8-year-old girl had to say to herself. I'm not going to read it all, but just the first few lines. Oh my God, I am hardly sorry for ever having offended thee. And I detest all my sins because I dread the lust of heaven and the pains of hell. What an affirmation to give our children. And that's what I grew up saying. Talk about not feeling wondrously made, right? The traditional prayers that I grew up with were rote. The Hail Mary, the Our Father, they're all rote prayers. As a child, you just say them. You don't know what they mean. You're just saying them over and over. And then there were my own little prayers of asking and begging and pleading, give me, I want this, give me, help me, forgive me, heal me. And then there was the bargaining and the negotiating, right? Hey, God, if you grant this wish, I'll do this for you. I'll be good. When I started going to Unity and I learned about affirmative prayer, things changed for me. I started feeling empowered. I started feeling aligned with God, that one power presence, not below it. The second principle is the Christ within each other. I started recognizing that I had a spark of divinity in me, and so did you. And then I learned the third principle, that the law of mind action, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind, that my thoughts, that my prayers create how I experience life. Wow. What a shift from the act of contrition, right? So, what is affirmative prayer? What it does is it brings our focus inward, not out there. It brings it to where God actually is. Not some outside entity or power. It acknowledges the truth that God is present in me, in you, and in every situation. Jesus said, nor will they say, look, here it is, or there it is, for in fact the kingdom of God is where? Within me, right, within you. Dixie's going to be teaching this book starting the last Sunday of the month. And it's by Jim Rosemergy. It's called The Gathering. And in this book, he tells of a time he had a big decision to make. He had a job he loved for over 10 years, but he was offered a short-term job to serve the unity movement. And he told the person that offered him the job that he needed some time to reflect on it. And he said, during that time, he said, I didn't ask God for help. I sought instead to have a deeper awareness of God within me. And today he said he realized that choice wasn't about whether or not he should accept that position. That choice was about whether or not he should turn to Spirit for his guidance. He went on to become the vice president of Unity Village. And today he has the Lodge Unity in Fort Myers, Florida. I want you to read, I'm going to read to you something he says in this book. God becomes real for us, and then this consciousness allows us to see what we have not seen before. When we know the answer to the challenge is a consciousness of the presence of God, we take our eyes off the problem and turn to Spirit. Do you hear what that's saying? It's all about me, isn't it? It's not about this problem, this person, this situation. It's about me. Can I move into that consciousness? This is what this class is going to be helping you learn how to do. To move into that consciousness, to hold that consciousness. Affirmative prayer brings our focus inward to God, where there's no limitation, there's no time, there's no space, and there's no place where God is not. Last Sunday is the first Sunday in 8 years I've been at this church that I missed because I was not well enough to come. And I have been going through what's called a purification, detoxification of my body. My doctor recommended it. And so moving those toxins out of the body made me very ill. But it also did something else. It brought me even further inward. My consciousness shifted. And I was driving with my daughter when she was driving me because I wasn't able to drive yet. And I was going, wow, look at the colors. Everything looks so different. Look how bright everything is. And she started laughing at me. And then I drove up Courtney when I was able to drive and said, oh my gosh, everything's coming alive. And she goes, Mom, you're seeing through different eyes. The shift in consciousness, the world actually starts looking different. There's no place where God is not. Imagine walking through your days like that. Imagine how wonderful, how wondrously wonderful you would feel. So in affirmative prayer, rather than asking, bargaining, begging for God for favors, for protection, we claim our highest good, no matter what the outer appearance is. And I'll tell you, some of those days going through this detox, it was a challenge because I thought I was going to die. It was a hard one. Above the temple of Apollo in ancient Delphi is a sign that reads, Know thyself. Isn't that beautiful? It speaks words just looking at it. But imagine standing there and having these words say to you, know thyself. Affirmative prayer is a tool to help us know ourselves. It shifts us from a consciousness of trying to change God to an expansion of our own consciousness so that we are changed. So how do we do it? How do we pray affirmative prayer? So all over the lifetime, right? We've got all those negative mental programmings going on, especially if you say the act of contrition. We create, through affirmations and denials, a more positive way of thinking. And a denial disempowers and dissolves our negative thoughts. It helps us restructure our consciousness, and it allows us to enter a state of serenity, receptivity, and communion. Have you had those moments when you felt that communion with presence? How sweet it is? Denials are statements of release. They do not deny the facts. They do not deny your feelings or emotions. They deny the facts, feelings, and emotions have power over us. Big difference, isn't it? And they remind us that no matter what is happening, we are always free to choose how we respond. Remember that. Our response, we don't have to react. Our response, we're in the power. We have the power to respond. So as we use these denials, as we use these statements of release, what it does is it creates a vacuum in our consciousness. That place that's been all clogged with all that negative stuff we had all these years, we start doing denials and it starts washing it out. But as soon as there's an empty space, you know this. Now, what happens when you clean a closet at home? What happens? It fills back up, right? Same thing with our mind. If I get rid of all these negative thoughts and it has an empty space, I'm just going to get more back in there. So we follow denials with affirmations. And an affirmation is simply a statement of truth. Truth with a capital T. We do not say them to make things happen or to change things. We use them to retrain our mind into positive thought patterns. We affirm the truth of our divine connection. Okay, so you're going to get to practice. Ready? All right. I want you to think of a situation right now where you have to make a decision. Okay? Now, get that place. You've got a situation, you're struggling, you got the decision to make. So close your eyes for a second. You've got that situation, and now simply say, here's your denial. This situation has no power over me. This situation has no power over me. And now we're going to put an affirmation right in there. God in me is infinite wisdom. God in me is infinite wisdom. I know just what to do. I know just what to do. Yeah, take a breath. Take a breath. Open your eyes for a minute. So that's one example. I'm going to give you two more examples, different situations. Okay, so now maybe you've got some kind of a health situation going on. Take a moment, pick out that health situation that you want to work with. Okay, everyone got one? Close your eyes again. And to yourself say, this health condition has no power over me. This health condition has no power over me. This health condition has no power over me. And we're going to bring in that affirmation. My body is pure, alive, and perfect in every way. My body is pure, alive, and perfect in every way. My body is pure, alive, and perfect in every way. Breathe it in. And then take a breath. Open your eyes if you want for a second. Now I want you to think of something that's causing you anxiety and fear. Something that's causing anxiety and fear. Pick that one thing. And close your eyes again. And to yourself, this anxiety, this fear is powerless to keep me from my good. This fear is powerless to keep me from my good. This fear is powerless to keep me from my good. And now the affirmation. Divine love now dissolves all anxious and fearful thoughts. I am peaceful and calm. Divine love now dissolves all anxious and fearful thoughts. Feel it. Let it move through you. I am peaceful and calm. Divine love now dissolves all anxious and fearful thoughts. I am peaceful and calm. Take a breath, open your eyes, and own who you are. You have the power to change your life by changing your mind. Denials release the energy and the power we have invested. Hear that word, invested, into negative thinking, feelings, and beliefs. Affirmations confirm the conscious recognition of truth. We are one with God. We are a child of God. We are powerful beyond belief. When Jesus calmed the waves, it was through affirming God was there as peace. When he healed the lame and the blind, it was through affirming the presence of God in each of those people. Jesus received strength to overcome every challenge because he affirmed God in the midst of every situation. The foundation of Christianity is this person we call Jesus the Christ. In unity, we follow those teachings. We practice those teachings. And all his teachings were about bringing the presence of God into the world. You can see the teachings in each one of the principles we've done so far. We're going to put them up here, and I'll read them very quickly. The first one is, there is one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. One power in my life. The second one is, my essence is of God. Therefore, I am inherently good. We're good. Even though I said those prayers as a child, I had to relearn that inner goodness. The third one, I am a co-creator with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. My thoughts create how I see the world. And today's, through prayer and meditation, I align my heart and mind with God. There's one more principle. Fifth principle. It's the last one, and it is the most important, and I'm not going to talk about it today. But I'm handing you the challenge to practice it on your own. And if you accept this challenge, so how courageous are you today? Remember, you said you were courageous? Are you courageous? Yes. All right. So you're going to accept this challenge because it's going to change your life. Dan, put the fifth one up, please. Through my thoughts, words, and actions, I live these truths. It means I'm going to live all these principles. So I take those four, and I'm going to live them. We're going to walk our talk. We're going to put into action that spiritual self that lives inside of us. You know, we come to Sunday talks, we take classes, we read books, we hear presenters, and we get all this information poured into our heads, right? It's time to start using all that information. It's time to start using it in our lives, to bring it out into the world. You want to put all five up, Dan, please? So they look like a lot. And we're going to give you, when the offertory comes by, behind the offertory, you're going to get a card with the principles on them. And you're also going to get a card with 2 affirmative prayers on them. One prayer was created by Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity. And the other one, his wife, Myrtle, used. And when I was at Unity School, her voice would come over the loudspeaker at noontime with this prayer. It's the prayer of grace. So I'm giving you those 2 affirmative prayers plus the principles. But I'm also giving you something else on the back of the card with the principles to make the principle easy for you. Dan, would you put that screen up, please? So we take all of this and we turn it into this. Much easier, right? God is. I am. I create. I pray. And I do. That we can remember, right? You got it? Yes. So from today on, those cards we give you, you're going to keep those 5 principles. They fit right in your wallet. You keep them with you, and you find something coming up during the day, and it's creating anxiety or fear or it's stressing you. You pull it out and say, okay, now which one of these which one of these principles can I use here? And you drop that in. And then you make up an affirmative prayer. You can make it up. Whatever it is, that driver in that car that cut me off has no power over me. Right? So what's the affirmation? I affirm I'm calm and at peace. No matter what. That's simple. That's all it has to be. And it catches you right away. It pulls you out of that negative thought. So that's what you're going to start doing. You're going to start walking the talk because you are courageous, deserving, united, committed, and beloved. God bless you.